So I want to ask you a question. How long have you been trying to solo on guitar? Months? Years? Decades even? Well, if you stay with me for the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to show you 3 simple steps to play amazing solos all over the neck in any key. But let me be clear, this isn't about tricks, hacks or shortcuts. What you're about to see is the real deal. And it starts with learning the most important scale. Tabs for all the scale patterns you're about to see, plus the backing tracks, are available to download on the link below. So let's start in the key of C major, and this note here, 5th fret of the G string, is a C. Specifically, middle C in fact, the centre point of music. And when you play a C bar chord like this, it's right there, in the middle of the chord. Now to make a scale from here, we just need to add 2 notes below and 2 notes above. So below this C, we can play frets 5 and 7 on the D string, giving us a G and an A. And you can hear these notes fit perfectly with our C. Then above, we can play frets 7 and 9 on the G string, giving us a D and an E. Again, a perfect fit with the C. So now we have these 5 notes, G, A, C, D and E. Together, these make up the pentatonic scale, the C major pentatonic in this case. And arranging the notes like this is great because often we want to resolve our phrases back to our root note of C, and this shape puts it in the perfect place to resolve from either above or from below. Now, a good way to think of this shape is as a box of 4 notes like this, 5 and 7 on the D, 5 and 7 on the G, and then a 5th note we can slide up to at the 9th fret on the G. Now, these 4 notes here, I call the primary pentatonic box, and think of this as home base when soloing in blues and rock. So now let me play a super simple solo using just these 5 notes. Sounding good isn't just about what notes you play, but how you play them. So let's look at some key techniques. Firstly, any longer notes, try giving them a bit of vibrato. Just a small movement adds so much, but we can add more when the style calls for it. Then, when moving between notes on the same string, hammer-ons, pull-offs, and slides make phrases sound so much more musical. So instead of we could play something like that. And finally, string bending. Now, the main note we want to be able to bend is this note here, 7th fret on the G string. Now, instead of sliding up to that E at the 9th, we could bend up to it with a full bend like this. But along the way, you'll find a blue note in that bend, an E flat, and we can get that bluesy sound with a smaller half step bend. Something like that. So let me solo again, still keeping it simple, but listen to how these techniques bring a real sense of musicality. So now we know how to make music with the pentatonic scale, it's time to start moving it around the guitar. There are many places these same notes exist around the neck of the guitar. For example, we get the same notes at the exact same pitch, starting here, or up here. But to give us more options, let's find them in higher and lower registers. Now, wherever you have a C chord, you'll find this pattern close by. So down here with the open C, we can create that exact same shape around the root note at the 3rd fret on the A string. So our 2 notes below are going to be frets 3 and 5 on the low E, our G and A. Then of course we've got our root note, fret 3 of the A string, our C. And then our 2 notes above are going to be frets 5 and 7 on the A string, our D and E. So all together, that exact same shape, but now on these lower two strings. And anything we played before on the D and G strings, we can play exactly the same here. But not only that, you'll see that when we play the lower position and slide up to that final note, we're perfectly placed to go seamlessly into the next position, starting at the 5th fret on the D string. So for example, I could play this lick in the lower position, and then move straight into something similar in the next position. Then we can move up again onto the B and high E strings, but just because of the way the guitar is tuned, we need to move up 1 fret when moving over to the B string. So we're here at the 9th fret on the G string now, and we just need to start at the 8th fret on the B string, but the exact same pattern. And you can see this fits perfectly around a C bar chord here at the 8th fret. So this is our root note of C on the high E, and then we've got our 2 notes below, G and A, and then 2 notes above, D and E. Now, when you link all 3 of these positions together, you'll see that not only are we moving up the strings, but also across the neck of the guitar this way. Now I have a whole video showing this full pattern and how to move between positions, which I'll link below. But for now, I'm going to solo again and just watch how easy it makes it for me to play licks all over the neck. Okay, so now we know how to solo in C major, it's time to see how we can apply this to any other key. Many guitarists get confused about the difference between major and minor, but it's really quite simple. The important thing to know is that every major key has a minor key with the exact same notes, known as the relative minor. The relative minor is always 3 frets below the major. So, with a C chord here at the 8th fret, all we need to do is go down 3 frets and play a minor chord. So down to the 5th we get A minor, and this 3 fret gap tells us that C major and A minor have exactly the same notes in their scales. Now in our scale shape we already have an A right here in the pattern. G, A, C, D and E. Now we can view this A here as our minor key root note, and you can see how it fits within an A minor bar chord. So this exact same pattern works in the key of C major with the root note here, or in the key of A minor with the root note here. Now just by resolving licks to this A, suddenly the pattern takes on a darker minor feel. Another little tip, you just saw me do it there when playing in the minor key, this note here, the C, you can give it a little tiny bend up for a bit of extra blues. So here's a solo in A minor, and see how I'm using exactly the same notes as C major. So now we know the same pattern works for major and minor. How do we apply it to other keys? All we need to do is understand where the root note falls. So let's say we're in the key of G, and just like we found our original middle C in the middle of this C bar chord, then we simply move this up to the G position here at the 10th fret, and then here's our root note, 12th fret of the G string, and we can build exactly the same shape from there. 2 notes below, and then our root note and 2 notes above. Then we have the position below, which goes straight into that middle position, and then the higher position. So G major. these exact same notes also work for the relative minor of G. So we go down 3 frets to E minor. So in the pattern, we've got our major root note of G here, 12th fret on the G string, but then our minor root note of E, here, 14th fret on the D string. Then let's take another example, C sharp minor. So here's our C sharp minor chord, and the root note is here on the D string at the 11th fret. So then here's our shape. And we can play the lower position and the higher position. Now of course, with this C sharp being our minor root note, we also know we get the major root note here, this being an E, from an E chord like that. So this exact same position of the shape works over both C sharp minor and E major. So now I'm going to play one last solo, starting in C sharp minor, modulating up to E major, see how I'm able to use the same positions across both keys, and of course keep moving across the neck. So I hope that was useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.